every time I start this now, I always do the 3, 2, 1, but I've always just put the beginning bit in. So now the 3, 2, 1 has become my new Twitch thing. Like, I used to always like do that before I start. Yeah, try and make it more authentic. Hello, welcome to another episode of Sit Down for Stand Up. I have with me a Stoke boy. Stoke has a soft place in my heart. My first business partner was from Stoke, but that's not you. Josh, how's it going, Josh? You good?
Good, mate. Good. Very good. Thank you. How about
Uh,
yourself?
yeah, I'm good. I mean, I'm not going to do all the previous bit on the call, but yeah, my gut's in absolute bits. But that was just for me, you, and my therapist. So
Yeah.
I said Stoke does have a soft spot in my heart because of oatcakes. All right,
Yes.
they're very, very
Topping of
special.
choice.
Pardon?
Topping of choice.
Oh, full English.
Oh, full English on an okay.
Well, like bacon, sausage, and cheese oatcake.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
You've got
what
to go.
else? What else could you have on
Oh,
it?
sausage and tomato and cheese is the one.
Yeah, standard, yeah, banging, yeah, standard, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
One.
I didn't have even like ice cream or some shit like that.
No, I've seen people use them instead of fajita wraps to make like Mexican food and stuff. It's pretty good.
Right, okay. Well, we were both talking about being on diets before this, so that's going out the window quite quick, isn't it? Well,
Yeah. You said you were on a diet. I just said I was on Manjaro. I'm not dieting at all.
it's sort of like
I'm
puts it on you though, doesn't it? Because you just don't get hungry.
yeah, yeah. But when I do it, I like the fact that I can eat whatever I want and still lose weight. So
Do you
that's
still
what I'm.
like not portion control? Like just naturally, you're just not eating. Like, but I'm
Yeah,
still putting whatever I want on the plate, but I'm just leaving half of it. The dogs are having the time of their lives. Because
yeah.
theirs is just their food allowance just gone up by double. So, Josh, I'll go straight into it. How long have we been in comedy? Why did we get into it? This is your story.
Been into comedy 12 months this month. Uh, I got into it. Always told I was funny in social situations. I was one of those guys, and I thought, well, it can't be that hard to stand on stage and do the same thing. Turns out it is. Yeah, different kettle of fish in it. And then it sort of all fell into place. I was working away for a previous company I worked for, bored stiff in a hotel for 3 weeks. Found an open mic night that was in Birmingham. Shout out to the Kamikaze Boys. And I went along, spoke to a guy there called Shams Man. He dragged me down to his comedy night. He forced me to get on stage. He told me it was show business, which is his tagline. I did 10 minutes and I've never looked back.
Nice. How did the first set go?
Um, Petrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely shaking, wanted to run out of the building, wanted to leave every second I was waiting. And then he told me it was tough. He was saying my name after the break and we were going to see what happened. I went up, I did the old book on the floor
Yeah.
and used it as like prompts. Got through the 10 minutes, got quite a lot of laughs, got told I was funny by a few comics that were in the room. So I thought, okay, cool. If we can do this on a first attempt, things can only improve. Turns out
Awesome.
that was the highlight of my career.
Okay. And if you look back in the last 12 months, if you look at your first set to say your last set, how do you feel you've progressed and like what things have you picked up along the way?
Oh, mate. I watched my first set back actually about a month and a half ago just to see if there was any material in there that I could steal and redo.
Feel your own
And
material.
yeah, yeah, I was cringing at it, to be honest. I was like, I can't believe I thought this was funny.
Yeah.
All my jokes were really long, like 3 minute setups to a punchline that got a bit of a murmur. And now I think I'm a lot more punchy. Um,
Okay. Okay. Joe, I've never asked this question on the pod.
well,
What was the worst joke you've done?
huh. The worst joke I've ever done, I got told by a friend of mine never to say again.
God, why have I never asked this? What is the word when you look back and go, why the fuck did I think this was funny?
So, so I like comics that live right on the edge. And I thought I was very PC in my early comedy career. I thought I was very safe in what I was talking about. I was largely just talking about how my son annoyed me,
Yeah.
which he does often. And I started talking about how I used to be a school teacher, and I thought, oh, there's some great material there. Let's try and be a bit edgy.
Yeah.
And I wrote a joke that perhaps isn't funny, but I thought it was hilarious when I wrote it. I've said it on stage once, and I got told to never say it again. And it was, I said it, the first joke out of my mouth, it's a semi-final in a competition. And it really did set the tone because half of the audience went, oh no, that's not for us. And half of the audience were like, yes, this is a bit of us. And it was a simple joke about how when I was at school, I used to have another teacher. He was a maths teacher. And I found out recently that he got convicted for being a paedophile. And I remember thinking to myself about how easily that could have been me. But when I was a teacher, I chose the attractive ones who could keep a secret. And yeah, well, the point of the joke was I tried to link it and make them think I was talking about when I was at school as a pupil.
Kid, yeah.
But actually, I was like, oh no, I was a teacher and I didn't get caught. I aren't, just a reference, but a lot of the audience, essentially, that's what I was hinting at.
It's weird how sometimes you can lose a crowd with a certain topic. Like I've done, Joey, like I've done a bit of dark jokes, love them, but I remember I lost because I did a crowd I was talking about like immigrants, they didn't mind it. Talked about like how shit Labour are, didn't mind it. The second I mentioned LGBT, I lost them. And it's
Yeah.
like so you don't know on a room sometimes, but they'll just pick one topic that you just can't. They decide you can't joke about. I mean, I'll ask this question in a second, but yeah, it's weird how they decide. Oh, we're going to allow this dark humor to go through, but this over here, oh no, we can't. We can't touch that. And I don't understand why some rooms go like that. I mean, do you think there is any jokes out there, any subjects that can't be mentioned?
I think you should be allowed to joke about whatever you want on stage, but there are parameters that has to fall into. So I think you can't joke about anything that you are not.
Yeah.
So if you're not black, for instance, you can't take the mick out of black people. If you're not gay, don't take the mick out of gay people.
Yeah.
Don't punch down ever if you can help it. And yeah, unfortunately, some rooms do dictate what you can and can't joke about. Whether you are everything in your set. I talk about mental health. I talk about how my son's mixed race and things like that. And some rooms just, like you say, don't like it, and you have to pivot and try and find other material in your head and try and get them back on board. And sometimes that's the most difficult part of a gig.
Yeah, it's just starting off on an uphill battle.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, which also is a bit unfortunate because I'll give you an example on this one. So I've been speaking with a Turkish comedian, very funny, Malike. I was talking to her last night, and I was just sending her so many Turkish jokes. But at the end of every single one of them, I kept saying to her, please don't think I'm racist. You've just opened the floodgate. You wanted the material and you've portrayed it. But I do agree, don't punch down. But I think you can joke about, you can like go along the lines. So I'll give you another example. I've got a bit that I'm working on, and it's basically like when people get married, a woman's workload increases by 6 hours, a man's workload decreases by an hour because women take on more responsibility. So then I go along, oh, that's why the gay community is like killing it right now. They've got more free time. and then it's like, oh, if I sucked enough cock, maybe I could get myself a girlfriend. But I don't know if they'll think I'm atting the gay community when in reality I'm actually bigging them up.
Yeah, I would argue that that's a joke about you and you wanting your life to be easier, and you've noticed trends in other areas of life, such as in the gay community and with married people, and you're thinking, well, why is it more fair in one than the other?
Yeah.
So I would argue that that's perfectly fine on stage. However, I know there are certain places where you so much as mention that, and the whole audience will go.
They'll
I'm
decide before the joke's even done. Oh no, he's mentioned the topic, even though it actually compliments them.
Yeah. I'm working on a joke at the moment that's very similar about sort of in the dating pool and about how I'm all for gay men getting married and having relationships because gay men are always attractive, well-dressed, smell amazing, and they've got six packs. And quite frankly, taking two out of the dating pool does me a favor because there's two less people that I've got to compete with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, get rid of them, and then there's less men to compete with the women that I'm looking after because they're out of the way. They're with each other. They're gay. Leave them to it. But yeah, I would be very cautious about where I said something like that.
Yeah. The other one then, I'm using you as a coach now, Josh. The other one is dating women as we all do it as a white guy. We sort of ask about their dating history. I'm not going to do all the filler of it. We ask about their dating history to see if they've dated a black guy before because I don't want to disappoint them. I do think
That's fair.
And it's like so we ask random questions like, oh, where like, oh, where's the person you dated from? Oh, he's from Kent. Oh, my nan's from Kent. What's his name? We might know him. Do you know what I mean? Like, so like get all the name drops. Like, if you've dated anyone where there's now a Popeyes, don't bother. Like, find out their history before the bill to split it. So they're already preparing them for disappointment in advance. Joking that white men have small penises, black men have big penises. But
mate,
it's a compliment to them. But
yeah,
the second you mention a topic, you don't, or do you think it's all in delivery?
It's funny because as I mentioned, just my son's mixed race, and I've started because I really struggle with opening my sets. I think that's the most difficult part of a set is that first joke and setting the tone. And I try to work in a way of saying like my son's mixed race and my ex-partner's like mixed race, and I basically say my son's mixed race. He's half black, half dickhead. He gets both parts from his mum, and his mum's Jamaican, and we all know the old saying: once you go black, and then the audience shout, "You never go back," and I go, "You do. I'm single."
Yes,
and I love that.
I just remembered I saw your bits about 4 days ago. I watched them all. Your dyslexic bit. Oh my god, that killed me, brother.
That's true.
That killed me. I was so good. So good. Like, honestly, say it for the people, man. Like that. Like,
so my son's mum has started spelling things out when we go to places, so that my son doesn't get excited when we go there. The only issue is that I'm dyslexic, so I'm just as fucking surprised as he is when we turn up at the park. Next week, she's told me we're going to SOFTPLAY. And at this point, I get to look at you lovely lot and see who else is dyslexic in the audience, because you're all looking at each other going, what did he just spell? Anyway, I've never been to a sex museum. I just think it's a really inappropriate place to take a 2-year-old. Yeah, I think that's a great joke.
It's such a golden nugget.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you what, that's also like the best thing about doing this job is that I see, listen, hear to comics that you wouldn't see or not. Well, hopefully will one day. And I just think before I started comedy, and hopefully you might think the same, that you thought, like to be like the greatest of the great, you've got to have such a good quality material. Everyone on the circuit has good material.
Oh yeah. I know tons of comics that I've met that are my level or a bit higher, not pro, let's say. And they're some of my favourite comics on the scene. You've already had Andy Bell on. He's phenomenal. I was there when he did the old boiler suit thing. I was actively encouraging him to do it. And he's the reason why he went on. I'm the reason he went on so late in the show.
Okay.
Because I the MC and said, listen, Andy's in the back and he's wearing a jumpsuit over his coat and he's absolutely roasted, sweating his knackers off. Do us a favour, put him on last. Because he's in the back. Sold. Yeah, I'm that type of comic, mate. But yeah, there's some comics like Katie Boyle. She does a character act of an old lady called Pat Goldspink. I hate character acts with a passion. She is phenomenal.
Yeah.
A partner, Alexander Sparrow, one of the funniest comics I know. Kim Mabley, who I know you're speaking to later, again,
Yeah.
fantastic. And they're all sort of comics that you'd never see
Mm.
unless you are a comic at my level. It's helped me tenfold with my material, seeing other people do theirs at this level for sure.
Okay, and this is going to be a softball question because I know the answer. Working with a lot of other comics, how do you find other comedians on the circuit?
Depends who the comic is.
Okay, let's say the rough majority.
The vast majority of comics on the circuit are phenomenal. They will do everything they can to help you.
Mm.
They'll give you lifts to gigs, myself included. They'll help you with material. If something's rubbish, they'll tell you. But they don't just go, that joke's crap. They'll come over and go, that joke's rubbish. I think you could add this to it.
Mm.
And then all you have to do is go on stage and try that and see which gets the bigger laugh. And, you know, it's one big community. There are some outliers that don't like it when other comics get further than they do in a shorter time frame than they've been on the scene.
Mm.
There are comics that'll tell you you're rubbish when you're actually good just because they're jealous. But that's the same in every world of life. You know, if you work in HR, you'll get it. If you work in an office, there's always one person who takes things to heart. There's always one person who picks on people. It's just in comedy, there's significantly more people, and you meet them countless times over the course of the year. You know, I see probably the same group of 40 comics almost every month now because we're just in the same circles.
Yeah, and I think it is one of the best communities I've ever been a part of. Like I say, like last night, just with Malike just messaging each other jokes, like with new like material. Like, oh, she was like, "Oh, we're looking for a Turkish bit. I'm Turkish, boom." Like, because like, it's almost like we're not doing it for self validation. We're doing it because we want other people to do well.
Oh, yeah. My favourite thing is when I think of so many jokes in my little ADHD brain of mine, when I see friends' sets and things like that, and I'm just sat in the audience and they'll say something and jokes will come to me like later on that night. I'll fire it over to them. And, you know, they don't use it, that's fine. But when I see them stand on stage and say something that I've wrote and the whole room erupts in laughter, I'm like, yes, I knew that joke would work for you. I'm so glad. But, you know, if I didn't know that person, that joke would never see the light of day.
Yeah.
And it's just good that I can share that with other people, and other people have told me jokes that I use in mine as well.
Yeah, completely. I mean, even if they give you dead ass advice, still take it and appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly that. Because all advice is advice.
Yeah.
You just have to see whether it's valid or not. I've been told numerous times that jokes I say on stage aren't funny. And I've been told numerous times that jokes that I don't think are funny are hilarious. I had a segue joke when I did my comedy course. It was solely written just to get from one joke to another. It wasn't funny. I didn't think it was funny. I said it on stage, and my comedy tutor told me that it's the funniest thing I've ever said up until that point. And I was like, I don't understand why. I don't get it. I don't know how that's funny. It is just a filler. And then it was a joke that I ran with for 6 months.
I'm trying to find his name, but I can't. So I can't. I want to give him credit for. He does a brilliant thing. He pretends his phone rings. And he goes, "Hello, is that Sergeant Segway?" Okay, and he just moves on to the next bit. Oh, something Lennon, something like that. He does Comedy Unleashed. I just thought that was brilliant. I mean, I do think doing the segues is, I think, is one of the hardest bits in comedy to actually go from A to B.
I tell a story with mine. That's how I find it easier. I write. I decide where I want to start my story. I decide where I want to end it, and then I write jokes to fill the gap in the middle. And I try and make it flow, but I make it flow in a way where each joke. So, for instance, the dyslexia joke I just told you, although it's two jokes together, in my head that is one joke, and it's a Lego piece, and that one joke can be placed anywhere in my set, and it will still work just as well in theory. No matter where I put it, as long as it's not my opener or my closer, it works. So they're all little Lego pieces to me, and they all just fit in that story because ultimately that story still makes sense no matter where it goes. So I've kind of got rid of segue filler in my set, if you like. And
Okay, so
it's just
your set doesn't go like like down like that. You got your open, you got your close, and then you just take bits from anywhere. It can all just sort of like eventually.
yeah. And again, because I learned early on that having a script in my head, start here, go here, go here, was fine. But I was reading it on stage like I was a robot. I wasn't reacting to the room. I wasn't involved with what's going on. And if I forgot where I was, the worst thing in the world to do on stage, because although it's 10 seconds to you where you've gone, it feels like a year and a half of being there. I can quickly just go, what joke do I know? Add that into that space. And then if the joke I forgot comes back, I'll add it in later at the space where the previous joke was.
Okay, and so been doing it 12 months. How would you say your crowd work has developed, and what advice would you give? Because I know a lot of people are worried to get on stage because of, or what if a crowd member calls me a tosser or says you're shit.
Yeah.
Like how would you deal with crowd work?
So when I initially started, I was scared of it. And I don't know why. It was just thinking of funny things to respond with.
Yeah.
But I learned quite quickly because a friend of mine forced me to MC a gig that she does.
Yeah.
Granted, there was no crowd, so I didn't have to do crowd work, but the thought of it petrified me. And then from then, I've done a few MC gigs and I've tried to work with the crowd, and sometimes it doesn't work and sometimes it does. But you watch these people online, like your Paul Smiths, your Matt Rife, doing crowd work that's world class, and you think you have to be that level. You don't. You just have to talk to people, ask them the obvious questions that everyone asks, try and think of something that's a bit niche. Like with Paul Smith, he says, what have you had for your tea? That's his thing. Try and think of something like that. And something funny will come to you. You're a comic. That's what happens in your brain. My funniest interactions with the audience have been when I haven't had a joke ready for the audience.
Yeah.
And now I suppose it's still not perfect. I wouldn't put any of my crowd work online yet because I'm not that confident in it. But it works enough to get me laughs and fill gaps. And I'm not afraid of it. I would actively seek it out, but I'm not afraid of it,
Yeah.
And I've had gigs where people have actively heckled me saying you're crap and talking, and you think it's a two-way conversation, and it isn't. And you either shut it down or embrace it. But no, if you're embracing it, they're going to keep doing it. So you've got to keep embracing it. You can't suddenly be okay with it and then tell them to shut the fuck up 10 minutes later. That's not how it works.
Okay. And in your set, do you sort of like have yourself like open-ended questions for the audience ready to go?
Sometimes, yeah. And depending on who the audience is in my head, I will ask those questions. And obviously, if I've got enough time to get a response, because a lot of the time you're on a 5-minute or a 10-minute schedule, and you have 10 minutes of material that you want to get out.
Yeah.
Especially in competition. It always seems to happen in competitions where the crowd want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And in your head, you go, shut up. I have 5 minutes to win this competition, and you are not funny.
We'll go into competitions in a second. I've got a couple in mind, and they're very shit. But they're simple ones like I'm 5'8". Is anyone else here short? I should stand up, but there's no point. Nice, simple. Is anyone gay in the building? Thanks for coming out.
Nice.
Simple. My favourite one I do, because I'm a twin, and I do a lot about like my twin's a doctor. Like he's the successful one. I'm not gonna do all the like filler and shit, but it's sort of like the happy birthday song. I was always the afterthought.
Right. Okay.
That says happy birthday to Nick and Dan. I didn't even bother relighting the candles for me. Like, do I want a bit of my twin's birthday cake? No, that's how I got fat. 33 years of cake neglect. And
sloppy seconds.
Sloppy seconds, exactly. And I would say, is anyone else a twin? And hopefully there was always like a twin, or anyone got a twin. And I would say, was you the afterthought or the first person in the song? If they say there was a first person, I always go, fucking hell, what must your twin look like then if you're the favourite? So I engage with them, but I'm trying to not give them any free reign.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not there yet.
I'm the same. When I ask questions and I want a very specific answer so I can move on to my next joke, I ask, like, say, a very close question where there is only one thing you can respond with in theory. There is always an audience member that thinks they know better and will say something. That's just part and parcel of it. You just tell them to sod off as best you can, or make a funny joke like I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to everybody else in the room, type situation, and you just crack on. But yeah, I try and close it down as best I can to keep it where I want it to be. Yeah, for sure. You have to keep control of the room. That's what a lot of young comics don't get, and I'm still not very good at that. But that room is your room when you're on stage. It's nobody else's.
Yeah.
You're in charge. And you have to let the audience know from the jump that you are in charge. And if you don't, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. Well, I'll do a question for that. What is the not yourself, because we get to that in a bit. What is the worst thing you've seen someone do on stage?
Right. So the comics that were with me will know exactly where this was, but I'm not going to name and shame the gig. Okay.
Perfect.
But a comic went on stage recently at a gig that I emceed and did, I believe he was meant to do 10. He did about 25. Not one joke landed. And I genuinely mean that. Like, some jokes might have got like a bit of a smattering of laughter. Yeah. Not one joke landed. And it got to the point where he then explained his joke after he said it. So, like, why does the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? It's like, well, the chicken crosses the road and then it gets killed by a car, so that means he's dead. So that means the other side is heaven, and that's what makes the joke funny. Do you get it now? And the audience were like, "What is going on?" And it was horrendous. And then I had to go on stage and close the show. And I just got up and went, I don't know what's going on anymore. So thanks for coming. See you next week. And left it at that. It was horrendous.
Why do they do so long when they try to, like, I know, like, you know, you do your 5s, then your 10s, or in London you do your 2s, then your 3s, then your 5s. You do your 5s, your 10s, your 20s. Was he trying to be like, well, I want to get onto 20s, so I need to get 20s recorded?
No, some comics do something that I don't agree with, and I don't think I'd ever do myself, but then I've not been in the situation where I've needed to, where they chase the laugh and they think I can't end without a funny joke. Like, the final joke I say has to be funny. So they keep going and they keep going and they keep going, trying to get that laugh. And if it never comes, you keep going, and eventually you just run out of stuff to say. For this particular comic, that was 25 minutes later.
Okay, so let's say okay, just tell me a shit joke. Like, just any off the cusp, you know, like, knock knock, who's there? You who? Okay. No, you weren't meant to laugh, Josh, for God's sake. You weren't meant to laugh.
Okay. I mean, don't say a good joke then.
My most innocent joke I love is, what does a gay horse eat? Hey. Okay, so you do a joke and nothing. You get nothing. How do you follow up?
If it's at the end of my set, I'll just simply go, well, apparently that was meant to be funny, but you guys didn't think so. Good job I did. Anyway, thanks for coming. And I'll end it. And I walk off stage, because ultimately 99% of that audience, at my level at least, probably never going to see him again. You know what I mean? I'm not Paul Smith. I've not got fans. They're not following me around the country.
I'm a fan now, you know.
Well, yeah, I've got one.
I remembered your set from watching it 5 days ago, Josh. So, you know.
Yeah. No, it's one of them. I'm not precious. You know what I mean? If you don't find it funny, I'm not bothered. I'll just move on to the next joke, because I know the next joke's funny, or at least I think it's funny. Yeah. Therefore, other people should. And again, what a lot of comics forget is they take that gig as the only gig that's important at that time. And I see it as, I've done 100 gigs prior to this, and in every other gig prior to this, they thought this joke was funny.
Yeah.
So what happened? And I'll watch the video back and I'll go, right, was I tired? Was I grumpy? Did I say it wrong? Yeah. Was it in the wrong place in my set? Was it genuinely something I did that made this joke not funny? Because that's probably what's happened. And if it is, I'll try not to do it the next time. But
Okay.
sometimes the audience don't think it's funny, and that's okay, and you move on, and there's no point chasing a laugh, and there's no point moaning at the audience going, oh, you guys are pricks, that joke's hilarious, fuck you. Because then the next joke they're not going to like, just to spite you. Because that's what I do.
Very true. I try and do shitty segues now that I've learned. So like, and you can use them at any time you want. Feel free to steal it as well. If I did a joke and it sucks, I just go, oh, well, I'm just gonna call that joke Israel because it bombed. Like, and it just once again just gets them back a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of comics at open mics go, oh, I'm going to burn that joke with fire because that joke isn't funny, or something along those lines. But again, I'm not fussed. I try my jokes at a couple of places, as I'm sure many other comics do.
That was my next question. How many times do you try a joke before you retire it? Or, say, know what, 3 times. Okay.
3 open mics or 3 variants of an open mic level. So I'll try and get it once in front of a real proper audience at a proper gig, shall we say, to see if it works. Once in the early stages at a basic open mic, and then somewhere else that's different. So if I had audience at both of them, I'll try it somewhere where perhaps the audience is not as vast, like there's not that many audience members, to see if it still works or if it's communal laughter that's making it funny and things like that. And then if it doesn't work, it goes into a big old pile on my OneDrive, and at some point in the future I'll go back to it and try and figure out why it's not funny. Or if it's a joke that I like, fuck them, I'm saying it anyway.
So my next question was going to be, do you write jokes for yourself or for the people?
Bit of both. If I find something funny, it's going in my set because I find it funny. There are jokes in my set that I do not enjoy saying. For instance, you've seen my set, the one where I talk about putting my son's shoes on. Yeah, it's quite a long-winded setup. I don't think the punch warrants the setup because it's like a minute of setup, maybe longer. And when I'm doing it in my head, I'm going, I fucking hate doing this joke as I'm doing it every time. But I do it because a few comics that I know, it's their favourite joke. And a lot of the audience seem to respond well to it. It's a nice little filler joke. It normally goes in the middle of the set. It's like it slows the pace down quite a lot. And I've tried to introduce pace into my set, which you will have seen from the one that I sent to you, because the next joke where I talk about chasing my son around a soft play is very fast paced. So the slow and then the speed up seems to work, but I still hate that joke with a passion.
Okay, and would you say your favourite joke is your best bit?
No, not really. No, my favourite joke at the moment is the one about my son at the start, and the once you go black, you never go back. I really think that's funny.
I mean, that's a good crowd diver, like a takeaway. I can't remember.
Yeah. And if the audience generally like it and they generally laugh, but I have been in places where they don't laugh, and I'll be honest, and I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot because when I get super famous and I'm still saying that same joke and all my fans see this, they'll probably do it to spite me. But when they don't laugh, it's my absolute favourite because I've got a comeback for when they don't laugh, and I can go, oh, fuck you guys for not laughing. I'm not racist. I'm doing the opposite to racism. I fucking made one. And
create a surplus.
Yeah, I'm making them. What more do you want? But a woman come up to me. I've only said that once, and a woman come up to me after that gig and said, you're very funny, but I just want to pull you up on one of your jokes. And I was like, oh, go on. She's like, the thing you said at the start about your son, and then how you said you're not racist, you're actively adding to the population. I sat there for a minute and thought about it, and I was like, well, that's always something that's worth doing at a fucking comedy gig, so thanks for that.
We just lost the half the other bloody set, and this is, sorry.
5 minutes you were thinking about it, brilliant. And she goes, you're actually diluting the gene pool, so technically that does make you racist because you're making them whiter. And I went, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
But you've got to do genetics, you can fuck off.
So, wait a minute, surely Okay, let's go to maths perspective of this. You made a 50% black person. Sure, that's still adding to it.
Yeah, that's the whole point
Yeah.
of the joke.
So what, you know, got to apologise for not being black.
Was literally what she wanted. She was like, "You're diluting their gene pool." I was like, "I'm pretty sure they're doing all right with making their own kids. They don't need me to add to it. It's just nice that I am."
I'm sorry. Okay, you know what? You're right. I will now exclusively date my own race. Thank you for making me like yes, I'm
Yeah,
a racist. Yes, you've made me look like a racist, so I'm now going to go date my own race to prove I'm not racist.
yeah. And as with all women that come up to you in shows to complain about racism, she was white and middle class.
Of course, of course.
So
100. Do you know what? You're going to give me five answers, guesses for that. I'd have got that in one. Yeah,
yeah,
middle-aged white woman complaining about mixed race. Fuck me. Oh,
yeah, it's
you
it's
can't
the
write
case.
it. You cannot write it, but you can see it a mile off.
Yeah, yeah. I could
Um,
see her in the audience while I was saying it, face like a
oh,
smack staring at me. And I was just like, she's going to have an issue at the end of this. And lo and behold, immediately as I come off stage, the MC's bringing on the next guy and she straight over to me.
yeah,
And you all assume you're going to get a well done. And she was like, I've got a problem. And I was like, oh, brilliant.
yeah. It's like she wanted the standing ovation. She wanted to look like a
Yeah.
hero. Fuck that bitch. Anyways, so would you say you should play every single room you're offered, or should you sort of, you know, some rooms might not be for you, you might not be for some rooms, or should you say, sod it, I'm playing every room I get offered at the moment?
Um, I think for a comic who's new, you do every room once.
Okay, good answer.
Yeah. Go and do it because someone could tell you that a gig is shit and you could
Yeah.
go and absolutely roof the place.
Mhm.
You don't know what that gig's like. You don't know what the audience is like. And again, it might not be the same audience that they had. I've
Yeah.
had some shit gigs, you know what I mean? And I probably wouldn't rebook to do those gigs again because of how bad they were.
Yeah.
But I've done them. I know firsthand the shit and they don't like me and my material. Fine. I'm not going to go back. I'd never say to another comic, don't go and do this. Because again, if they absolutely roof it, they're going to think I've said don't do it to try and put them off a good gig or from
Yeah.
getting further in their career. And, you know, I'm not about that.
Mm.
Go and
Fair
do
enough.
every once. See for yourself.
One I have been doing lately, and I need to tell myself off for doing this. I have been looking at the other lineups they previously had,
Why? To
and
see if you fit in.
yeah, and I know
Yeah.
I shouldn't do that. I know I shouldn't, but you know, I just look at someone. I'm like, well, if this is the caliber, you know, they want, I don't think they're gonna like me. And I don't, and I've sort of made this arrogant decision 2 weeks ago that I'm no longer going to dilute my set. I'm no longer going to appease people. So I want to write what I want to write. I want to say what I want to say. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah. I see it. I look at the lineups similar to you. I see it in a slightly different way. And it's weirdly, in comedy, is probably the only time when I am slightly positive in my life. But I look at the lineup and go, oh my God, that comic's really good. That comic's amazing. And that comic's amazing. And I'm on the same bill. So this promoter thinks I'm as good as those comics. Okay, I better turn up and hit it with my A game. Like I did a gig for a company called Laughing Stock.
Yeah, I know
Phenomenal
Microsoft.
musician in the north. Yeah, brilliant group of lads. I met one of them from my comedy course, and then the rest through doing comedy. I did their final. It's the video I sent to you. I saw the lineup and saw who I was on with in that final, and I
Yeah,
spoke to a few of my friends, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "I don't think I'm at that level
there's
to
some
be
heavy
at this
hitters.
place." Yeah. And like some of the people that are on that gig are almost pros. They're doing Edinburgh Fringe shows this year, full hours. They've been gigging for years. And then there's little old me, 12 months in the game, a few jokes about his son, a knob joke and a paedophile joke. And I was like, I shouldn't be here. And then my mum sat me down and went, you stood up at the semi-final. You beat the guy that was put in front of you to get to there. They did the same thing. So the only thing that you can do is turn up and see. And if you come last, you come last, but at least you're the worst out of the best bunch.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I didn't beat the guy who I was face off against, but the guy who I was faced off against is one of the best comics on the scene at the moment at my level. I'm happy to lose against him. And I think coming from that gig, because I psyched myself up all the way there, I did the old Rocky up the stairs.
So I was about to make that joke. It's like your mum's now professionally sits in the corner at boxing gigs, like giving them prep talks.
Yeah. Like, before
Eye the Tiger comes on.
Yeah, but in my head, it was a fight because it was me v him. I had to beat this comic that was in front of me, and I was like, I would rather look back at that gig and go, you know what, I couldn't have done better.
Yeah,
there, and he did genuinely. He was the better comic, and he beat me. I'd rather think that and come back and look at my material and go, right, well, I need to write more stuff, than look back at that gig and go, well, I was a bit tired. And my head wasn't really in the game, and I shouted at a man in the car on the way, and that set me off. And I was like, I don't want any of that. So, favorite songs on all the way, get in the right headspace, eat what I want
all the way through.
Yeah, exactly that. Spit some bars in the car, try and get there, go through my set so it's 100% in my head, get on stage and roof it. Because if I roof it, he's got to beat me.
Yeah.
And that was my thing. I was like, I aren't rolling over to let this other comic beat me. I'm beating him as best I can. Like I say, unfortunately, he did beat me, and he then won the whole thing.
That's the thing. You'd rather be beaten by the person who goes on to win it.
Yeah, to win it in Edinburgh show. Well, he's doing 3, I believe. So and he's brilliant. I've seen him before. He's ace. And he's got a phenomenal joke that I knew he was going to do because he did it at the semi-final and I saw him do it. And I was like, that one joke alone is better than my whole set.
Yeah.
So I knew I was the underdog, but I like to think, and ours was the only split decision of the night as well. Everyone else was clear. So mine was only split. So in my head, it couldn't have gone better for me apart from winning. And I knew I wasn't going to win it. So
what competition was that, and what other competitions have we done?
That was that Laughing Stock final for the Laughing Stock boys. I did the semi-final with them, which was phenomenal as well. They do put on some good gigs. Competition-wise, I've done So You Think You're Funny. I did the heats for that in Manchester. That was one of the longest days I've ever done. It was 3.5 hours in the Frog and Bucket. It was wild. Good gig, though. They did not like me on that stage that day in Manchester. No, it wasn't. I've done Beat the Frog twice now. Again.
Oh, yeah. Gong shows, how do they go? I have a soft spot in my heart for gong shows.
So I've only done 2. I've done Beat the Frog.
Yeah.
And I've done the gong show for Spiky Mike.
Yeah, Spiky Mike, yeah. Big up.
Yeah, Spiky's was my first ever gong show. I was second on.
Worst position ever. Worst position second, just so you know in advance.
You say that. I saw it as my material isn't material that should go on stage first. My first joke was about my nan at a Christmas party with a dildo. So I didn't want to come out and that be the very first joke that this cold audience hear for the entire evening. I was like,
fuck them.
Yeah. But I went on second. I roofed it. It was the first time I got a clap, an applause break. So I was like, yes. Got all the way to the final, and it was a long time ago. I believe I was the 4th in that in terms of people that went through. I came 4th in the clap off at the end.
Right.
I was happy with that. And then every time I've done Beat the Frog, I've never made it through. I've just been gonged off. Generally because they either love my set or hate my set. And in the northern quarter of Manchester, they don't like stuff about my son, apparently.
Well, the thing is, I speak to comedians for a living now. Ali Woods, we know Ali Woods, fucking great comedian. He even when his comes out in a couple of days' time, he's did his first 2 gong shows, he got gonged off. Do you know what I mean? Even the ones, even these heavy hitters out there now, these ones selling out theatres, they got gonged off. Like, it's no stature of your capability of a comedian. It is just the night there and then, and what will happen.
Some
So like,
people love them. Don't get me wrong. Some people absolutely love a gong show, and that's
yeah,
fine. You do you. You enter your gong shows, and I will always enter a competition if I think winning it or being in it will advance my career. So, like, say you think you're funny. It's one of the biggest comedy competitions on the
yeah,
planet. I've got to at least enter
yeah.
and,
Put your
and
hat
see
in the ring.
what happens. You never know. If you win that, that takes your career from here to here overnight. And if you don't, you've met some new comics, you've experienced a new gig, you've got some stage time at a world famous comedy club, Frog and Bucket. What more could you ask? And that's all I wanted. For me, probably not going to do any more gong shows, just because every time I've done it, I've left the show thinking my material's shit. I don't want to do
Yeah.
this anymore, and it puts me in a negative headspace. And it takes me a couple of gigs to bounce back from that. And I think that's probably not the right environment for me.
Yeah, which is fine. No, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
mean,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, that's why I always ask about, should you play every room? And you did it answered it perfectly, play every room once. And then you
yeah,
do need to look at the cost benefit analysis of, am I going to come away from this having learned something, having bettered myself as a comedian? And if the
yeah.
answer is no, then, you know,
The only thing I think you learn from a gong show is how to win the gong show.
yeah,
You don't learn anything really about your material. You just learn, and that's why there are some people that do the Frog and Bucket. Like, it feels like every week
yeah,
I see the same people on the bill, and it's like all they're learning is how to do that gong show in that one room in that one place in Manchester. And that's fine. You do that and you win that gong show, and that's how you take your career to the next level. For
yeah.
me, I couldn't put myself through that week in and week out, being carded off, hearing that horrendous "Hello, darkness, my old friend," while you walk off and contemplate life, and then you have an hour and a half drive home from Manchester. The middle of the night, thinking, was it worth the sleepless night that I'm going to have crying myself to sleep? And then day at work the next day where everyone's coming up to me and going, "How did your gong show go?" And I go, "I got gonged off after 30 seconds." I don't want it in my life. I'd rather go to a gig, do the gig, watch the video, be able to analyze it, see what went wrong, see what went right, and change it.
Okay. When it comes to comedy now, do you think being funny is all it takes, or do you think there's like a broader package, like, the social media side to it?
So before the last 6 months, I would have said, if you're funny, you'll make it. And ultimately, I still think if you are the funniest guy in the world, you will
Yeah.
get far in comedy. But unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because I hate doing it, you need social media. I've seen people that are not funny and have an amazing social media presence get gigs solely based on the fact that they can promote that gig to 2 million people.
Yeah.
And that's why they put on the bill. I've seen people whose very first gig, it'd be a gig that I would aspire to do in 5 years,
Yeah.
just because they've got 2 or 3 million followers from other things. And like, I know loads of people that have got careers in other lines of business, shall we say, that have decided to come into comedy, and I'm good friends with two of them. And they've got social media out the wazoo, and they're doing really, really well in comedy. They're writing, they're getting better. And I said to both of them the exact same thing: do not take a gig that is above your station because you have got X amount of followers and you've been offered it. I was like, you need to bear in mind, you're in your first 6 months, in your first year, you aren't Jimmy Carr, you aren't Peter Kay.
Yeah.
Your material isn't sell out Wembley, because if it was, you'd be selling out Wembley.
Mm.
You're not. You're doing an open mic in Grimsby on a Tuesday for no money. Like, don't think you can go and do this gig in Wembley Stadium. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Say no, say thank you for the opportunity, keep that friendship there, and just say, I don't think I'm ready. Because the guy putting on that gig will respect you more. And then when you go to him and say, I'm ready, they'll book you. But if you go and do that gig and you die on yours, they'll never book you again for anything.
And whilst I do think there are a lot of transferable skills, you don't know until you do go on the stage. And doing like the skits on social media, you know, there is a different element altogether. Whilst they can be funny, being on stage, like I said, being funny in a pub, being funny on skit is complete different beast to being funny
Yeah.
on stage. And
It's
some skills are
totally
transferable. A lot of them aren't. A lot you can only learn it by going up there and sucking ass.
That's the worst part about comedy, isn't it? The worst part about comedy is the only way you can know that you are funny is get on stage, tell a joke, see if they laugh.
Yeah.
It's horrendous.
And also, I do think social media does work in favour for people who do skits, who are one-liner comics, who are good at crowd work, because that is very good for social media. If you're a storyteller, and then it can be a lot harder because, unfortunately, this day and age, people's attention spans are a little bit wank. So
Yeah.
social medias are catered for them. So it is a beast we all have to play with, but yeah.
The worst part about social media, though, for me is because, like we discussed earlier, I don't do a huge amount of crowd work. So any joke that I put out on social media of me doing, in theory, I can never really say that joke again because the audience know where that joke is going to go. And especially if that joke goes viral for whatever reason, which would be fantastic, and I'd love that sort of exposure.
Mm-hmm.
But then that joke dies there and then, in theory. Don't get me wrong, you can still say it again, but when the audience know where that joke's going, it's not as funny.
No.
And for me, I haven't got that much material that I can afford to lose a joke that good just because it got me 100,000 hits on social media and made me 20p. I can't afford to lose it. I need it in my set.
Yeah.
You know, I need it to get gigs. So that's why a lot of the material you see is crowd work, because you'll never say or do that again.
Yeah, and it can change every time.
Yeah, it can change every time. And I wish I did do more crowd work solely for that purpose, to bang out on social media, but I also can't be with social media at all.
It is a beast. Like, same for doing this podcast. Social media is the devil, but we've all got to dance with it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I always ask this question nearing the end, Josh. It is my favourite question to ask. It's a two-parter. Don't really care about the first bit, but I've got to be polite. What has been your favourite moment on stage, and what time did we bomb the hardest?
Favourite moment on stage, probably the very first time I stood on stage at Hot Water Comedy Club.
Okay.
So I set myself the target. We're going to do Hot Water within 2 years of being a comic. Biggest comedy club in the country, in my opinion. Some people may argue it's other places, but they're wrong, so fuck them. I love that club. It's phenomenal. A comedian called Liam Alexander got me on a gig of his called 2 Minutes to Glory, which is a Kill Tony spin-off.
Okay, cool, yeah.
Yeah, it helped me to condense my writing because I had to, because I only had 2 minutes. And I was sat in the green room with like Danny McLaughlin and other comics at Hot Water, feeling like I was the king of the castle, stood on stage with that logo behind me, and I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I did my 2 minutes. It went really well. A couple of comics that are well respected said that I was fantastic in the little sort of chit chat after. And I left there going, yes, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I want to be a comedian. This is where I want to spend my time, on stage at places like this, doing gigs like this. And it was phenomenal. Funnily, though, how I died the hardest was the exact same gig the second time I did it. So 2 Minutes to Glory the second time at Hot Water, I had a throat infection. I cancelled the gig the day before because I couldn't talk. I sounded like that woman off Monsters Inc., that Mike Wazowski.
Yeah.
And then Liam messaged me and said, I've got some dropouts. Do you want a spot? And I was like, 100% want that spot. Got in the car, drove to Liverpool, lozenges, soothers.
Yeah.
And I was doing it out loud in the car and I sounded okay. And I think, looking back, I probably should have just kept my mouth shut in the car and not gone through my set and saved it for on stage. But, you know, I had about 20 packs of soothers, which then gave me the shits the next day, horrendously. But I got on stage, I got the mic, and I said, hello, Liverpool, how are we doing? And the whole audience silently stared at each other. And in my head, we were all going, what the fuck just happened? And then I had to go, I've got a really bad voice. Silence. I then said my next joke. Silence. I then finished my two. Nothing but silence. And then the judges analysed me. And Natalia was like, none of them were mentioning my bad voice, which was good of them. And Natalia was giving me loads of feedback on my jokes, which was fine, but you could tell all of them wanted to go, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you on stage? And I left and I sat down and two comics went, you shouldn't have done that gig, mate. You can't talk. And I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have. And I drove home feeling crap. But yeah, it was 2 minutes of silence, staring out at an audience that were all looking at me. And I could see, because it was well lit, because it was in the barn at Hot Water, so it wasn't dark. I could see every face, and every face was mouthing, what the fuck are we listening to? And I just had to carry on. And the more I spoke, the worse my voice got. And it kept breaking and going high and going low. And my throat was on fire, and it felt like it was a 9-hour gig.
Yeah, I might say, how long did it feel? I bet it felt longer than any 20-minute set you banged out.
That little gap between hello, Hot Water, how we doing, and my first joke, when I watched the video back, and that video will never see the light of day, but I watched the video back and it was 3 seconds between when I stopped talking and when I said my first joke. And I remember being on stage thinking, I'm pretty sure I'm about to finish my 2 minutes and I haven't said anything, because it felt that long. And I just wanted to curl up and die on the stage. It was horrendous. But I've done other things that go on a similar vein. I did a golf club recently, middle class, white, lots of money. And I opened with a new bit that I was working on about me being on Manjaro and how the company I buy Manjaro from is blackmailing me for naked photographs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, we've all heard of Morrison's, right? And nothing. And I just stood there going, it's like a poor man's version of Waitrose. And they said nothing. And then the rest of the gig was silence because they were annoyed that I was scum. And I was like,
you can spit on me as I walk off, don't worry.
Yeah, they really didn't like me. But
you got to do them gigs, man. Like they're the ones that you learn the most from. Right.
Yeah, I learned I'm never doing a golf club again. That's what I learned from that gig.
But on the final one then, is there anything, any advice you want to give to new comedians? Just, want to get out there? Your final message to the people?
Yeah, try every gig once. Don't give up. I'm not going to do the old write as much as you can, write every day rubbish, because I don't. I write once a month at best. My ADHD brain won't let me do it every day. So write whenever you think you need to write. You do you. You're your own business. Don't copy anybody else. Don't think because X amount of people are doing 40 gigs a week, you have to do 40 gigs a week. Go at your own pace. Go as far as you think you can go based on how long you've been in there, and don't let anybody dictate what you can and can't do. Yeah, if you think you're good enough and your material's good enough and the audience are telling you you're good enough, apply for pro gigs. If the audience are not laughing, perhaps you're not ready. Take a step back, reanalyze, and just go as fast as you can go effectively. Reach for the stars, smash it, and hopefully I'll see you on the way up. Fingers crossed.
Perfect. Brilliant. Josh, thank you ever so much for coming on, dude. Thoroughly enjoyed this.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me.
Much love, brother. See you in the circuit when I come up north. In a bit, man.